Welcome to the Joys and Challenges of Midlife, a podcast dedicated to supporting and guiding women as they learn to navigate the physical, emotional, and spiritual challenges of midlife. I invite you to join me, Pavan Beltman, as I talk about diet, exercise, relationships, happiness, and connecting to your inner voice. Are you ready to look and feel much better? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Joys and Challenges of Midlife. I'm your host, Pavan Beltman, and today I have a special treat for you. There are very few of us who haven't dreamt of escaping the rat race and following our dreams. And especially as we get older, we're pulled in so many directions. We have work and family and social life, as well as trying to take care of our health and finding time to relax and spend time on inner contemplation, maybe spiritual things. And if you add to that the current, I think, really toxic culture of hustling for success, you have a perfect recipe for a burnout. My guest today is a British author of several fiction and nonfiction books. His latest novel, Beyond the Pale, is a fable about escaping the hustle and finding yourself. Having spent the last few years interviewing over 300 entrepreneurs, experts, and thought leaders about how they built successful businesses, he thinks he's uncovered the secrets to success, not just business success, but just whole life success. And guess what that doesn't involve? Hustling. Here to tell us how to escape the hustle and be free to create a whole life balance is Matthew Turner. Welcome, Matthew.
Hello, Pavan. Thank you very much for having me on your show today.
Well, I'm very excited to talk to you about your book. So tell me, so you've interviewed how many entrepreneurs?
Well, over the last few years, I've been working for myself for about 7 or 8 years now. And shortly after I left my job and started working for myself, so I could, one, finish my first novel, which became a second and then a third, and just work for myself as a marketing consultant. Marketing's kind of was my background, study-wise. So early on in that process, I came up with an idea for my first non-fiction book, which was called The Success Mistake, where I interviewed 163 entrepreneurs, I think was the final number, about failure, basically, and mistakes and what they learned from it. As well as those, I've interviewed dozens, possibly even hundreds more for like other podcasts and other projects. So yeah, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've probably, for one project or another, interviewed at least 250, probably pushing on 300 people, and just gathered an entire lifetime's worth of insights and lessons and inspiration. And many of them kind of formed the catalyst for my latest book, Beyond the Pale, which is, like you say, is a fable about a guy called Ferdinand who goes on a journey after he realizes he's more stuck and caught up in the hustle than he ever really thought he was. And yeah, the whole idea of hustle and that work-life balance, and just building something on your own terms, building something that goes a mile deep for the people that you want to serve, rather than saying yes to everyone and everything. It's one of the key lessons I took from all those interviews.
Right. And, we were talking a bit earlier about, that everyone, the coaches, the Instagram, everybody is telling us that we have to hustle, and we have to just do all the things in order to be successful or even just reach an audience. And apparently you have uncovered the secret to success, and it is not hustle. So what is it? What is the secret?
Well, unfortunately, the secret is there is no exact secret. I think one of the key ingredients to the sort of formula, if you will, is to say no.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of the hustle. I think people get it mixed up. They hear hustle. when I hear hustle, back a few years ago, I associated with hustle with the people who were working 80-hour weeks. They would go online and they would talk about how they did another late night, taking a picture of them still in the office at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And that's kind of what I perceived hustle. And like you say, we were led to believe that if you want to be successful, if you want to reach where you want to reach, you've got to work really, really hard. And I think along the way, there's been a bit of a disconnect between what's really the point and the supposed point. So the supposed point was work hard, whereas the real point is having a good work ethic.
Right.
If you want to be successful, you need to have a good work ethic. Unless you're just very lucky, and if you are, it'll probably be fleeting. You've got to be willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
To get to where you want to go. And sometimes, like I'm in the middle of right now of a book launch, so there'll be periods in the coming weeks and months where I'll have to work later at night, where I'll have to do something at the weekend, where I might have to do a 8, 9, 10, 12 plus hour day. You've got to do what you've got to do some of the time. But that's not the point. The point isn't to just glorify this notion of working 12 hours each and every day. So having a good work ethic is a key ingredient to success. You've got to be willing to put in the work to get you making progress, to get to where you want to get to. But a big part of a good work ethic is to actually understand what it is you're doing,
Right.
what it is worth saying yes to, and saying no to everything else.
Yeah.
Whereas the hustle kind of blurred those lines, and it just lost in translation along the way, where it's like, oh, well, if I want to be successful, I just need to say yes to everything. I need to be on every platform. I need to listen to that guru and that guru. Oh, and that person found success doing it this way, so I need to do that. And I've been told that I've got to be a coach, so I'll be a coach. And I've got to create a course because everyone's creating courses and everyone's finding success with a YouTube channel and a podcast. And you end up just saying yes, yes, and yes. So you're working harder and harder and harder. But that's not what it's about. That's not a good work ethic. If anything, it's the opposite of a good work ethic. A lot of the time you'll be saying yes to those things and keeping busy so you can distract yourself from the actual real work you need to do.
Yeah, I totally see that. And it's so easy to get caught up because you think, oh, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work. And then you just start trying all the things and you're afraid that if you stop that you won't succeed, but you're also avoiding, just like you said, you're avoiding the stuff that you're probably more scared to do that you actually have to do.
Yeah, there's a few things at play. First of all, there's like that fear of missing out. What if that thing, like a good example right now at the time of recording this is Clubhouse is like one of the big things on the scene in the business world, and then also TikTok in the more sort of younger consumer world. And I'm on neither. And me a few years ago would have jumped on both simply because the fear of missing out. Like, what if TikTok gives me that audience and I blow up and that's the thing that gives me what I want? Or what if Clubhouse is the thing that gives me? So I'd go on both. I wouldn't really go deep into anything because I wouldn't have the time to. And I wouldn't particularly have the inclination or the care to, because it's not something that I was particularly passionate about, like TikTok, recording videos. I do it reluctantly. The thought of just doing that all the time, doing like that, it's just not for me. Clubhouse, randomly going in rooms and being in a room with like 10 plus strangers and talking, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't align with like my style. I don't get my point across in that way well. I need to be, in a sort of one-on-one place like we're doing right now, or ideally writing. So it's that fear of missing out. What if that platform is the thing I've been looking for? What if that shiny object is it? So the fear of missing out comes into it, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you sort of hinted at, there are other things going on as well. It's that you feel like you've got to say yes because everyone else is. And you end up saying yes because everyone, and this is true for everyone, it doesn't matter how, woke you are, it doesn't matter how deep down the personal development rabbit hole you are. we're all still a work in progress. We all have our demons. We all are fighting those inner battles. And we're just one big walking mess of objections and resistance, trying to put off the things that we need to do. Maybe because we just don't want to, maybe because we're scared, maybe because it's a little thing or a big thing. We've all got that resistance. And every time you say yes to something that you're just going to skim the surface with, like a TikTok or a Clubhouse, it's stopping you from saying yes to the thing you need to be doing.
Exactly.
It's distracting you from the thing which is actually the point behind you running your business, behind you reading that book that inspired you to, start a new diet or a new regimen or a new ritual or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Totally. My coach was very gung-ho about joining Clubhouse. It was a couple of weeks ago, and she did a whole thing. You have to do it because it's new, and if you're on now, and just the thought of going on Clubhouse makes me feel tired. Just the idea of it. I got my invitation like a good little girl, but it's like I have not even opened the app.
Yeah, and it's not to say Clubhouse is bad. It's not to say any platform.
Personality, I'm more
absolutely.
I'm more like you. I'm like quiet. I'm a writer. I can muster enough energy to do a podcast. But no, I'm also like very one-on-one.
Yeah, you've got to find the things which, draw you in, and you're like, yes, that's the sort of thing I can. And like you say, the point, and that was the whole point, the fear of missing out. If you get into something early enough, you're bound to build some kind of momentum. You're going to build an audience. That's just how these things work when you're there early. But we've seen it all before, with the periscopes and all these other things. Like, it doesn't matter. You can build an audience of 100,000 people on one of these platforms. That platform could be gone in a year. And if you're not going to utilize that 100,000 audience, it may as well be an audience of 1,000 or 100 or 0. It's all about what you do with that audience. It's all what you do with that opportunity. So unless you're going into a platform or into a project or into an opportunity with, both thumbs up, yeah, I'm ready to do this, I'm going to give it my all, I'm going to put forward a good work ethic rather than just working hard or appearing to work hard, then it will come out the seams, days, weeks, months, whatever it may be, and it just won't align with you, and it'll just tire you. It'll just remove you, what energy you've got left. And as I'm a firm believer that we only have a certain amount of time each day, 1,440 minutes, and every time we say yes to one thing, it's preventing us from saying yes to something else, or it's preventing us from committing to something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very much a less is more guy in that sense, or at least I am today.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you. So you talk about that you don't want a work-life balance, but what you want is a whole life balance. And, I'm a holistic coach, so I am very interested to know what you mean by that.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. Like anyone, I've always, at least on a subconscious level, pursued work-life balance. It's one of those just societal pursuits, like the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of a work-life balance. We don't ever really think about it. We're just brought up believing that that's the point. The pursuit of success, pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of having a work-life balance. So you're not always working. And it makes sense. You don't want to be that person who is always working to the detriment of your family, or to the point where you're giving yourself, you're committing so much self to like your body, your health, that it's taken away from your work. But one of the things which I started to realize in the lead up to writing Beyond the Pale, and this coincided with the birth of my daughter, Imogen, and she's just over 3 years now. So the journey I've been on with this book is about 4 years now at the time of recording this, from like idea to it coming out. I began to realize, and it's ridiculously simple. We have one life. We have one life. There may be billions of other versions out there, in the multiverse and in the realm of what if and, imagination. But right now, you are you, I am I. The person listening is the person listening, and they've just got one life. That's it. And we are the decisions we do or do not make. We don't get to create two lives. We don't get to create a work Matthew and a home life Matthew. It's just Matthew. It's just that life I'm leading.
Yeah.
So when I talk about gravitating away from work-life balance and pursuing a whole life balance, it's not to say that you can't bucket certain areas of your life. It's not to say that you can't try to distance certain areas. So, when you're at home, you can just be switched off from your work. That's good. But it's this notion of we're constantly trying to strive for this balance that does not exist because there isn't a work life and there isn't a personal life.
Yeah.
It's all as one. So we're trying to balance something that's already balanced. It's just there. So when I talk about a whole life balance, it's just taking appreciation of life. This is my one life. And I personally want to build a life where I am able to be at home and be with my family and have them involved, at least in part, with my work and the other way around, and not try to, balance out my day and schedule it so I'm able to work on my personal self here and my work here. And then I've got to be under kids there. It's just looking at life as a whole. It's like, how can I build a lifestyle which encapsulates everything that's important to me?
Right. And
And
so
I'm able to commit.
so you mean like instead of compartmentalizing everything, just sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a case of, appreciating that it's all, and I've got time for the things that matter to me. And yeah, it might be that you, in a way, kind of compartmentalize certain things where it's like in the morning, I'm going to take an hour to, meditate and do yoga or go for a walk and be on my own because I'm fulfilling that. And in the evenings, I want to make sure I'm always there to help kids with homework, or, during the afternoon, I just need a bit of me time to do some work. So you're always going to compartmentalize to an extent, but it's not trying to balance things in this equal way. For me, that tends to lead to a life where you work really hard Monday to Friday. That's work life. And you've got to do that so you can enjoy the weekends. And every year you can have a vacation for a couple of weeks.
Right. No.
For me, when you commit yourself to a work-life balance, that's the kind of life you end up in. You're like, all right, well, I'm Matthew the worker between these hours and between Monday to Friday, and I've got to do that. I've got to do that, and I'm allowed to do that because it means that I'm allowed to be Matthew the dad at a weekend, and I'll work for that vacation in the summer each year. And it's just so difficult to balance that because life is always changing and you go through various different chapters in life. So you're constantly trying to balance this thing, which is pretty much impossible to balance because it's just one life. It's not like there's two things at the opposite end of the scales. You're trying to balance a ball, but it's just there. It's just there. It's not, you don't have to balance anything. It's just there. So for me, when you start to commit to a whole life balance, you can come, well, you don't need to be constantly, you don't have to subscribe to, all right, I'm going to be a worker between Monday to Friday. I'm going to be off at the weekends and not work. Maybe you will work a little bit on the weekends, but it's not going to take away from your family. Your family's not going to take away from your work. You don't have to subscribe to having just one or two vacations a year. You can go on several. And it's just appreciating life as the single entity that it is and building a lifestyle around it rather than you trying to fit into, the societal version of what work-life balance is.
I also think, that all came about I think that's why it's so important that you actually enjoy the work you do, that you enjoy your job, because if you hate what you're doing, well, yeah, you're going to need a work-life balance just of some kind, just so that you can recover from the hell you just went through from Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people also, I mean, it's also a fad, I think, but a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs because they think, oh, now I'm finally going to enjoy working. And
the potential of it's there.
potential, right? And now they've got it
Yeah.
all sucked into this hustle and non-success. And I see you talk about what do you see as the success mindset?
So the success mindset really kind of comes about this idea of defining success for you. It was one of the key takeaways I took from writing my last book, The Success Mistake, the one where I interviewed 100 plus entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize, learning through their stories, that they became successful. They became, a person of purpose and meaning. They became the person who, further down the road for me, the kind of person I aspired toward, when they started to define what success meant to them. A little bit like, the pursuit of work-life balance. Right. We're all programmed through our parents or through school or through the media or just through society as a whole to pursue success. Mm-hmm. And it's a job role, it's a salary, it's a particular type of house, it's going on a nice vacation, nice holiday, each year. So we've got an idea without ever thinking about it of like what success is. If you ask someone, at the age of like 18 or 19, like, do you want to be successful in your adult life? They'll be like, yeah, I want to be successful. I want to be success. If you ask them what success means, they'll probably just skim the surface with like, well, I'll be, rich. I'll have a nice car. I'll have all these things. Mm-hmm. And it means nothing. Yeah. It's just like this bland version of success that is just easily attainable because it's just out there in society and it's what we see, it's what they experienced. So we just cling to it. Someone says, what does success mean to you? Oh, it's this car, it's this house, or it's this amount of money, it's this type of job. And what I learned from all these people who generally did, seem successful, they personified what, the very nature of success is that they understood what it meant up to them. And for some people, success was like 100,000 a year. Some people, money didn't even come into it. It was more about success is just having the bills to pay, having enough to pay the bills, and only having to work 3 or 4 hours a day. Right. For some people, success was having a really large business, but not just having a large business for the sake of it, because by having a large business, they were able to go a mile deep and really have a huge impact on the people that they served. Right. So everyone has like a different definition of success, or at least potentially inside them. But so few of us really appreciate what that is. Yeah. We're just out there living life and we just subscribe to one of those bland vanilla versions. And the whole point is to appreciate what success means to you. So the whole idea of a success mindset is to subscribe to your version of success, to build a lifestyle, that whole life around your version of success, to build the business that you're building around your version of success, rather than just trying to be a 6-figure entrepreneur because it's the thing you saw online on an article and you're inspired. Yeah, that seems like, but I'll be happy when I get to 6 figures. Well, I'll tell you, you get to 6 figures and then you're like, it's not that much different. All right, so I become a 7-figure entrepreneur. All right, and then you get to 7 figures. All right, it's not that much different. All right, so I'll become an 8-figure one. So yeah, it's about understanding what success means to you and building it on your terms.
Yeah, and also just like what you feel, because like you said, money's lovely, but it's not. Yeah. It's not everything. So it has to. Success should also just be something that's meaningful for you, and also Absolutely. How do you get successful if you don't really know what your end goal is? It's like getting into a taxi cab and not giving the driver the address. So how will you ever become successful?
That's it. You raised 2 good points. First of all, yes, money is important. We live in a world where money is essential, and having more money, at least to an extent, usually leads to a potentially better life because you're able to worry less about money and you're able to be more giving and generous and be able to just commit more time to whatever it is that you're committing yourself to. So it's not that money's bad, and it's not to say that money shouldn't even be part of your definition of success. It absolutely can be, But money in and of its own is just a means to an end. It's like you
Right.
say, what's beyond money? Like, what is the money going to fuel? It's
Exactly.
just fuel for a fire. But what's the fire? Like, what is that fire? What's that
Exactly.
destination? What's that vision? And the other thing you bring up is like you've got to appreciate what it is that you're striving towards, because otherwise you have no idea when you arrive. And I'm sure you've heard the stories before, and I'm sure your listeners have too. You know, the person who just kept on always striving for more, more, more. You know, they were like, once I reach 6 figures, I'll be happy. Then once I reach 7 figures, I'll be happy. Once I reach 8 figures, I'll be happy. All right, it's not about money. So it's like, okay, once I get this promotion, I'll be happy. No, once I get to that promotion, I'll be happy. So you're constantly striving. You've got a goal, because a goal keeps you focused, and a goal keeps you busy, and a goal keeps you at least entertaining the idea of happiness
Yeah.
until you reach that goal. And then you're like, I'm not happy. Damn it. I'm not happy. Nothing's changed.
Right.
So you need to appreciate what success actually means. So when you get there, you can enjoy it. You can be like,
Yeah.
this is what I've been aiming for all these years. And it brings me to the final point. It's not set in stone. Like, success is malleable. This idea of what success means to you is totally fluid. Like, life is just a series of chapters. That's how I look at it. And the chapter you're in right now will look one way. And at any given time, you may transition into a new chapter. And every time we transition into one of these new chapters, the version of success, that definition of it, may change with it. Success in your early 20s, before you have a family, is going to look very different to success in your mid 30s, when you may have 2 or 3 kids and a mortgage, which will look very different still when those kids have grown up, got a house of their own, and you've paid off that mortgage. So success is always going to change. You know, the amount of money you need is going to change. The things that motivate you and fuel you is going to change as you master one thing after another, after you become aware of new things, you know, and you
Yeah.
learn new things.
Yeah.
Success changes with it.
And also, I mean, success, it's a goal, right? And I think people, we love a challenge. I mean, that's what makes life interesting. So,
Definitely.
once you reach the goal and you have that version of success, I mean, I think that's also the reason why people then say, okay, and now, for the next
Yeah,
challenge, next version of success, that's, otherwise you just stagnate.
absolutely. Yeah, you certainly need something to keep you going. Otherwise, and I imagine most people listening will have felt this after the last year, where we've been stuck inside and we've not been able to live life as we would ideally like to. Everyone's been affected in
Yeah.
some way or another over the last year. And I felt it. I felt myself going through the motions, going lethargic, finding it harder to motivation.
Mm.
So yeah, not having that goal to aspire towards, not having that destination, that carrot at the end of the stick,
Right.
leads to complacency. It leads to that idea of going through emotions. So yeah, you'll always want to have something to keep you going, something to be pulling you along, and something to drive toward. But when the success that you're driving toward, when your goal you're driving toward is meaningless, you know, like that next promotion or 6 figures, 7 figures, you
Yeah.
reach it and you're frustrated that you haven't, fulfilled happiness.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Whereas if you appreciate what success means, you reach there and you're happy, and you can appreciate it, and you can celebrate the fact that you're there. And then you can just take a little step back and give yourself some time, like, okay, well, what do I want to do now?
Yeah.
And right now, while you're pursuing that version of success, you'll have no idea what it'll look like. You've got a lot to learn between there now and then. But when you reach there, you'll likely have been inspired in some way or another, and it might be something new to pursue, or something new to learn, or a new adventure to go on, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Cool. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about your book. And I love that you call it a first of its kind business fable. And do you think it's going to replace the historical novel? It'll be like the new fad. What's your book
Well,
about?
you never know. So here it is. It's beyond the pale. And it's a fable. So I liken it to the easy example is The Alchemist. The Alchemist is obviously not about business. It's
Mhm.
more about, I guess, a spiritual or just an inspirational awakening. It's
Mhm.
just designed to give your soul a bit of a kick up the
Mhm.
backside, and start to question life. A lot of the things that we've talked about, like what is the purpose of it? What is the definition of success? So Beyond the Pale is very similar in that regard. It's not a book with answers. It's not a non-fiction book or a how-to book that provides answers. It's not going to give you anything in that regard, but it's designed to get you asking the right questions. It's designed to inspire you, open your eyes, and just get you, okay, yeah, I've been living life this way. Is that the way I want to live it?
Yeah.
So in that aspect, it's very similar to, a book like The Alchemist, where it's
Mhm.
a fictional tale, it's a novel, but it has non-fictional elements in it. It's got teachings and a grander meaning in it rather than just a story for the sake of telling a story, escapism. And it follows Ferdinand Foy, who is a very, very typical Silicon Valley success story. He's an exaggerated version of, I think, what many people aspire to be towards. He's on a fast track to becoming a billionaire. He's the sort of person we can't relate to, but we can in some ways because they're so prevalent in the media.
Yeah.
We all have a version of Ferdinand that we admire in some way or form. We've read their autobiography, we've watched their videos and their talks. So
Yeah.
he's inspirational. He's the definition of success in so many people's eyes because he's figured it out. He's got the money, he's got the fame, he's going up. He's on the fast track to upwards. But early on in the book, he's inspired to question what it is that he's actually pursuing. Why does he want to become a billionaire? Why does he want his business to become as big as it's going to be? Why is he on a journey to go up, 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 up? Like, what does it all mean to him? So the rest of the book follows his sabbatical, if you will, where he takes a break from his company to go and figure out like what he actually wants his company to be, what he actually wants his life to be, because he's only in his mid-20s. He's got his entire life ahead of him. He's only ever known success. It's always come easy to him. He's smart. He's intellectual. He's just got a whole lot of privilege, always has done. So now he's got to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? I've created these foundations for what? And he meets a bunch of inspirational people on his travels, mostly through happenstance. And that's where the non-fiction elements come in, because I interviewed actual people who have inspired me on my journey in recent years. And even though it's a fictional tale, it's very much set in a real world and it features these real world people. So I'm able to integrate their actual characters into the story as they share wisdom to Ferdinand. And he goes deeper down the rabbit hole of, like mindset and flow and our relationship with trust and our relationship with our mind and our body and our soul. And he gets introduced to new aspects of life which he didn't previously know of, or to aspects that he'd heard of, but he'd never really taken the time to step back and go, what does it actually mean? And as the book progresses, he starts to open his eyes wider. He starts to appreciate the position he's in, his current situation, the actual pain he's felt in recent years, and how he has been self-sabotaging. And he gets to make a choice of what happens next.
Wow, sounds really cool. And when is it? When's your book coming out? Is it out yet?
So there's two parts to the launch. It becomes available as an ebook and for pre-order from May the 4th. And then the main like bookstore launch, when the paperback becomes available, is middle of August. So yeah, a couple of months of doing it. But right now the sample's available. There's a sample on the website, and that adds you to a list where you can get kept up to date with the release and sort of other things that we've got planned, like giveaways and goodies and just things to kind of get the reader involved.
Oh, great. Well, I'll post a link For more information on your book in the show notes.
Yeah, it's beyondbook.co. So
Okay.
beyondbook.co. And yeah, all the information when it does become available for pre-order will be updated on there, and you can grab a free sample, read the first couple of chapters to see whether it's to your liking.
Awesome. I'm actually very much looking forward to reading it. Cool.
There it is again. I've got to say, I keep showing the cover because I just love the cover so much. I think the designers did such an amazing job.
It's very pretty. It's very pretty. And I'll put this on my YouTube channel so then people can take a look. See, so you guys can listen to it and then you can watch it twice.
Listen and watch.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been real fun.
Thank you so much for joining me on the joys and challenges of midlife. I hope this episode has inspired you to continue discovering yourself and finding your unique path. Until next time, remember to do the world a favor and take care of you.